Hello and welcome to the JSA studio. I'm your host, as always, Nathan, and today I am coming at you with a very special video. Today we are going to be breaking down and analyzing Julian Sayin, the starting quarterback for Ohio State. In fact, I'm even wearing a red shirt and a red hat, color coordination. So you can't call me a Michigan fan in this video. Nevertheless, before we get into the film breakdown itself, at this point I am going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help out the channel if you did. Just remember to be civil down there in that comment section. After all, what do I know? I'm just some asshole on the internet. And now with the intro done and out of the way, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to get started by starting with Julian Sayin. So Julian Sayin himself is a rather impressive player. I'm recording this intro after I've already recorded everything else, okay? So I've kind of already done the film breakdown and analysis. In fact, I've actually gone and watched an additional game from the games that I'm breaking down in this sort of video here. But all of that aside, I do really like Julian Sayin. I think he's a fantastic player. The problem right now is that he has yet to take the leap, as I talk about in the film, from game manager to game manipulator. Okay? And that, I think, is the next step for him. It likely doesn't happen this year. It probably happens in the off season or at some point during the next season. As I've mentioned several times on this channel, it takes about 30 starts for you to know what you have in a quarterback at any level, at the high school level, at the college level, at the NFL level. It takes about 30 starts to know for sure what you have at the quarterback position. As far as what I'm looking for in this video, I will say I am not particularly an X's and O's kind of individual, so per se. I have friends that are like that, but I am more of a technique guy and also more of a trait / toolsy kind of guy. I am coming at this video not from the angle of, is Julian Sayin good in college, and how good is he, and how do you counter him, and what he likes to do, etc., etc. That's not really what I do when I watch film. I'm kind of coming at this from the perspective of a scout for the NFL. So there's going to be a little bit more talk about what he could be and what he will be. It will be more critical because I spent the most time in this video talking about his negatives that he had in the beginning of the year, so I could set up towards the end of the clips that he got way better as the season went on. So even though it's more negative, all of it is nitpicks, if we're being honest with you. He effectively came right out the gate a high-level quarterback. And Texas does have, statistically, a very, very good defense this year. So, and given the conservativeness of the game plan, I felt like he did very well in that game and in several other games going forward. So the main thing with him is I wanted to see how he progressed because he is a redshirt freshman. He is going to be the starting quarterback next year. And I wanted to see if that first round hype that he was getting in the 2027 class was actually backed up by the film, in my opinion. So that's effectively the mentality I came in with when watching these videos. So effectively, I wanted to see where he was at the beginning of the year and where he is in these last two games against UCLA and Rutgers, especially given that he didn't have Cornell Tate, for each of those games, I believe, and he didn't have Julian Sayin. He didn't have Jeremiah Smith for Rutgers either. So I did kind of want to look at that. At those games specifically to see how big the dropout was. And I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't really that big, which is something that I mentioned later on after the film. But this right here was sort of the mentality and what I was looking for when I'm going into the Julian Sayin film analysis. And now with that done and kind of me explaining what I'm looking for, we're going to go ahead and jump into the actual film breakdowns here, starting with the Texas game. So this is actually the first throw, I believe. I don't know if he actually threw a pass last year, but this is the first throw, at least of this season, at least of him as a starter, from Julian Sayin. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our pre-snap indicators. What is the defense doing? Well, as always, the corners are usually the tell here. A pretty strong and obvious indication of zone coverage from both of these corners. He's got an outside shade. He's looking at the quarterback as opposed to looking at the receiver. Yeah, there's a bunch of indicators here that this is going to be a zone coverage. And the coverage that Texas is actually going to be running is a cover 3 roll, sort of jump route is the terminology that I learned to call this. We called it a jump, because the idea being is here that you've got your 3 safeties that are out here playing cover 3, or your three DBs. They're not safeties, but you've got the corner out here. He's got that third. This guy's got this third. This guy's got the third down here. And he is actually going to come down and roll into this section of the field right here. Now, he's got primarily 2 reasons to be in here. The first reason, if you want to run some sort of speed out to the tight end, he's going to be crashing down, and he can either make a play on the ball, try to knock it out, or at the very least, it's only going to be a 2-yard gain. The second, I think, more likely reason is that they think with the outside leverage here, you're going to call a slant play to Jeremiah Smith, the best wide receiver in the country, future top 2 pick in the NFL draft. He, running a slant route, is not an unreasonable supposition here on this play. Now, that's not what you're going to do, because Brian Hartline isn't an idiot. So the idea would be that he would be able to come down and make a play on a ball on a sort of slant route and either pick 6 it or knock the ball down, or regret Jeremiah Smith running over the middle of the field, or make Jeremiah Smith regret running over the middle of the field. Now, that isn't what happened. Instead, Jeremiah Smith is going to be a decoy, but he's not going to be a decoy for the tight end down here. No, he's going to stay in and block and then be a late outlet option. No, Jeremiah Smith is a decoy for Claire at the top of the screen here. And what we're going to see from Julian Sayin here on this play, so he's going to come back here, he's going to do his little play action, and then he's going to come back and settle. And instead of throwing the ball right away, he's going to wait. And I'm going to let the play run now, but he's going to hesitate a little bit. And it's not the biggest deal in the world, but we're going to talk about him being concise and getting the ball out here in the future, because that's what he does. Now, you see here, bam, plant your foot, throw the ball. You've got the lane. He's going to be right over here. He can't do nothing about it. He can't do nothing about it. And the safety, who you can just barely see a little bit of him, he can't do nothing about it. And then he's got a lane here to turn up the field and turn this into a big play. But instead of just planting and throwing the ball, he's going to bounce and then hitch and then pat the ball and then throw. Now, all things considered, you'd like him to throw the ball quicker, but this is an extraordinarily catchable ball. It's very accurate. Julian Sayin is the most accurate quarterback in college football. It's not close, nor is it a discussion. He is probably the most accurate quarterback I've ever scouted, and he's a redshirt freshman, okay? So this guy's very, very good. But this one, the tight end just dropped. There's a little bit of nitpicking in terms of he should throw it earlier, but this play is mainly the tight end dropping it. But I wanted to show this play for 2 reasons. Number one, he does do a lot of young quarterback type things in this play, and that's not a problem as we move later on into the season. But number 2, also, the tight end did drop the ball, but that's not really what I wanted to say. Number 2, the accuracy is still outstanding. Like, you see everything here. If we go back even further here a little bit, we go back even further in time, and we look at his actual throwing motion. Bounce, bounce, again, not what you're supposed to do. But if we look at him, first off, he's not throwing his arm way back all the way out here like some quarterbacks do, especially when they want to try to dart the ball. No. He's in the pocket. He's throwing with his shoulder, not his bicep. And that's good to see right away. And then, bam, follows through, nice. It's good technique. So he's got technique pretty solid. Nice tight spiral. Accurate pass. Claire's just got to catch that, and he doesn't. He drops it for some reason. But still, a relatively impressive throw from an accuracy standpoint. You do wish that he threw it earlier. You do wish that Claire caught the ball, etc. You know, there's thing to nitpick here. But for his first ever throw, you're already seeing a lot of the things that already have him in top 5 pick conversations for the 2027 NFL draft. So this is a couple of drives later in the game here. And on this play right here, we're going to look at Julian Sayin because he's going to hear steps on this play. Now, effectively what's going to happen is that you got Jeremiah Smith up here at the top. He's going to just run across the field and run a little out or drag a crossing route, whatever you want to call it. And what's going to happen on this play here is Julian Sayin is going to look down the field, realize nobody's open. I pointed to the wrong guy earlier. That was Ennis. I forgot. But you're going to run across the field here, and you're looking, this is a 3-man route. They only really got 3 people running routes here. He's not fucking open. He's not open. He's not open, like, especially because I got another guy right here who's just off your screen, so he could try to jump the route if you throw it here now. So nobody's open, so he's got to hold on to the ball. And he's going to bounce. He's going to bounce. Now all of a sudden he's going to start feeling some pressure. He's like, uh-oh, I got to get rid of it. And my outlet option is on the ground. And he's like, uh-oh, I got to get rid of it. And he's going to throw it. He's not going to follow through with his step. And you're actually going to be able to see this pretty clearly here. But the ball is wobbling. Look at the ball. Look at the ball. It's wobbling crazy. He just threw this. It was all arm. Didn't really get his body into it. It was still fairly accurate, you know, all things considered, if we back up here a little bit. Now, you can make the argument the DB got there a little bit early. He makes contact, like, right here. And it's so blurry because I'm using a broadcast version of this. But in real time, they're not going to call that most of the time. So I mean, it wasn't a great play call. Texas had the perfect defense. Nothing was really open. But the reason I wanted to show you that is because legitimately, I'm just going to skip forward. Legitimately, skip through the replay. The next play that we're going to see here, he's going to make an even better throw that's going to get dropped because you guys had a real problem with drops in this game. Sayin is going to get pressured almost immediately. And he's going to look out this, okay, I know. You can see he's actually peeking over here real quick. But he knows that it's man coverage. If you look up here, bam. You look up here, where's he looking? Bam. He's looking at the quarterback right now, but he was looking there. And same thing with him. This is man coverage across the board here. Or at the very least, some kind of combination of man. See, he's looked back at the wide receiver now. Some kind of combination man in zone. Claire's going to go in motion. And pretty much immediately, he's going to get under pressure. Your right guard gets his ass beat on this play. It's all right. It happens. But here, he's feeling the pressure, and he throws it. Can't follow through. Only arm. And he's going to drop a dime. And Ennis here is not going to catch it. But that's literally right in the breadbasket. That's the ball. That's his hands. He's got to catch this. This was a very, very good, very big-time throw from Julian Sayin under pressure, okay? So the previous play, maybe heard the footsteps coming a little bit. The ball was kind of wobbly. But, you know, also Texas had the perfect defense. So it's a little bit nitpicky, and I fully acknowledge that. This play was outstanding. This play right here was incredible. This was a great throw. Should have been caught. But you guys really struggled with drops. I believe at this point, Julian Sayin's only incompletions are the previous play where it got knocked out of the DB's hand in 3 drops. So this is another drop, in my opinion. I don't know if it got graded like that because it is kind of difficult, but it's still a drop, in my opinion. So far, he's actually been pretty impressive in his debut as a starter. So this is actually going to be the last play that I break down for the Texas game. in terms of this, but it's a good one. Partially because Carnell Tate's going to make a great play down here, but also because it is, in fact, something that was a problem with Julian Sayin early on in the year. It wasn't just this play. He was consistently doing this, and it was a problem, but he ended up growing out of that. So on this play, Carnell Tate is just going to run a flat out and a straight up on a go route, and he's just going to obliterate this DB. He's got no chance in hell. Brandon Innes here is going to run an out and up. This is a full-blown shot play here. And then Jeremiah Smith, he's going to run a little up, then try to get vertical, okay? This is a shot play. It's 2nd and 7. You're on the cusp of field goal range. So you can hypothetically run the ball on 3rd down, get 3-4 yards to be able to take a relatively reasonable field goal. So fuck it. Shot play time. This is an excellent time to run a shot play. Texas only has 1 safety in the middle of the field. This is a great play call from Brian Hartline. And Carnell Tate is already right down here at the bottom of your screen. He's already beat the DB. It's over. It's over. And Julian Sayin, he's looking right at him. He's like, oh, yeah, this is 6. So he's going to sling it. And he lets it go. Nice tight spiral because he throws a real pretty ball. The problem. Okay, look at it. Jeremiah Smith here has got 2 or 3 yards of separation here. Look where he is where he catches the ball. He's got a basically full-blown stop, turn around, jump up the ball, and catch it. The ball's left short. If the ball should be right around here, it's just a walk-in touchdown and it's game over. Instead, Carnell Tate does kind of bail Sayin out on this play by catching the ball twice, actually. He bobbled it. It's an incredible play. Carnell Tate, future top 10 pick as far as I'm concerned, by the way. I love Carnell Tate in this upcoming draft class. He's going to make this catch. It's a touchdown. But the point I wanted to make was that this was a reoccurring problem for Julian Sayin. It was leaving the ball short on deep passes, which does get into, from an NFL scouting perspective, does get into what you could pretty reasonably describe as a limiting factor, which is the arm. The arm's okay. Like, it's, I would say by NFL standards, it's an average NFL arm. So he can't make every throw, but he can make all the throws you need to make in order to be an NFL quarterback. So it's not the end of the world, the arm strength is here, but he's got to learn to throw the ball earlier and with less arc, because he doesn't have the arm strength. So, or sometimes more arc, because he doesn't have the arm strength. So this is something that he does learn, and I'm going to show you a couple of plays where he does absolutely nail the deep ball. So, yeah, I just wanted to point this out to show you, as we go through the film here, that Julian Sayin is improving drastically, and he already started as a competent quarterback, okay? He's effectively gone from what I refer to as a game manager at the quarterback situation, meaning he's managing the game, not necessarily changing it or affecting it. And he's evolving into what I refer to as a game manipulator at the quarterback position. So we're going to go ahead and skip forward a few games here to the Washington game. And this was, in my opinion, Julian Sayin's worst performance as a starter. Washington does have a extraordinarily underrated defense. This is a high-quality defense that makes you work, okay? So I'm not necessarily clowning on him for struggling against Washington, but as I'm going to illustrate in this play here, and also future plays, he does miss something here on this play, okay? This play is designed to go to Jeremiah Smith here on the outside. He's just going to run a fade, all right? Now, he's going to be double covered. These two guys right here are going to cover him, okay? Now, what he would honestly right now understand and recognize is if these two guys are going to be doubling Jeremiah Smith, that means my slot receiver here and this guy are one-on-one. And purely due to leverage and the fact that he's still very good. This is Anis, I believe, number one. And the fact that he's actually a good receiver, I'm going to be able to have him open and be able to pick up the first down here. This is 3rd and 7. They're drawing on the screen. That wasn't me. Draw it out here. I mean, and you can see here, he's not even pretending like he's playing zone defense. He's just staring at Jeremiah Smith. Meanwhile, if we look at the slot receiver here and where his feet are, he's got inside leverage on this defensive back here. And he's going to break out. He's running a little out route. And this is going to be open. And you're going to see here, Julian Sayin is going to look, and he's looking, and it's covered, and he's got somebody coming over the top. But he panics. If he keeps his eyes, he's looking back over here now. If he keeps his eyes here and he understands what's happening, that he's going to break open and be open right here. Look at how open he is. Look at how open he is. He's wide open up here at the top of the screen. Wide open. This is just a miss. His number one option was taken away, so he panicked, and he's going to try to run for the first down here. And he's going to do an admirable job. He's not fast by any means, but he's not a statue either. So he's mildly athletic is the way I would describe it. And, yeah, he's going to run here, and he's not going to get it. But this was a miss by Julian Sayin here. He had the first down. He just didn't stay with it long enough on this play here. All right, so we're skipping basically to the end of the game here because there was a whole lot of, screen passes, hitches, and not a whole lot of anything else in this game. So the film was kind of meh. But here on this play, I actually think he's going to do a very, very good job. He's got Claire here at tight end. He's going to come upfield and run a little flag route over here, breaking to the outside. And then across the field, you have the first read, which is Carnell Tate running a little drag cross right there. So we're going to go ahead and start it. Snap the ball. I believe it's play action. Pulls it. Now, he's already zoned in on Max Clare. But if you look up at the top here, he's not open because even though he's got the leverage to break inside, this guy's right here going to drop off here, cut off the throwing lane. Both of these guys are just hanging out at the line of scrimmage for some reason. So he's going to buy time. He's going to drift in the pocket, wait until the last second, feeling the pressure. He's going to go and deliver to this outbreaking route to Claire, who's going to catch it this time, get a foot in down, and out of bounds for the first down. That was second down, so it wasn't do or die or anything, but he's extraordinarily accurate, and he's starting at this point to become more comfortable under pressure to deliver and make the passes. So that is progress. So we're skipping ahead from week 3 to the 9th game of the season, I believe week 10, okay? UCLA. Is UCLA good? No. No, they are not good. Does that matter for the points that I'm going to be making? No. No, it does not matter. Because we're talking about growth at the quarterback position. And we're going to see a lot of growth on this play here, all right? So we've got Jeremiah Smith in motion. He's going to be running just a little wheel route here, all right? And then we have Claire, who's going to be running right up the field. It's just a clear out route, effectively trying to put this guy in a bind, assuming he has to pass him off because it's cover 2 or something like that. Now, it's not cover 2, but it doesn't matter all that much. What you have here is you have, well, that's the backside. Front side, you've got Anis running a little in, breaking, and then settle route. He's going to settle somewhere in there. And then you've got number 13 here on the outside, or I believe it's 13. It might be 15. I don't remember. Running a little in, breaking route behind him. So as we're going to start the video here, what you're going to see is Jeremiah Smith is going to be the first read. Running out here, running that little wheel route. And that's going to be taken away. So you see Julian Sayin, he's looking right at him. He's in front of him. He's going to get hands on him. Jeremiah Smith's not going to get around for the big play. All right. Now, he knows pre-snap from the alignment, he is probably going to be here to take away this deep look right here from the tight end, this play. This safety is going to be there to take it away. Because unless he fully bails this way, or it's some sort of disguise cover 3 where this guy's going to roll down, which would be very unlikely considering that he's right there, and he has to roll over to here, then this play is just taken away via the alignment of the defense. So I've got to go backside now. So first, we're going to look at him, and we're going to see if he's open. We're still looking at Jeremiah Smith. Nope. Boom. Now where we're looking. Now we're backside. Can I throw it to Anis here? Well, maybe, but it wouldn't necessarily be the best read because he's right here. So I can't really, he's right here, so I can't really throw to him. Okay. So now I'm going to shuffle. I'm going to reset. Now, hypothetically, I could have thrown it a second ago here. Hypothetically, he could have tried to have thrown it here, but this is actually this would be a more difficult throw than the one he's going to make because he'd probably have to put it back shoulder to protect from the linebacker coming here to try and draw it out or get a hand on it. So he's actually going to do what he's supposed to do, which is rip it into the hole because this guy has to move out in order to potentially deal with the dunk pass here. So he gets too far out, leaves the passing lane open. It's 15 yards. Great play. Going through his read, number 13. Great play. Going through his reads, not just sticking onto to the read, not panicking when Jeremiah Smith is taken away. Okay, both of those things are things that I've showed you so far in the breakdown. Now he's not doing any of that. He's gotten past that as part of his development. So now he's starting to go through progressions. He's starting to go through his reads. He got to his third read on this play and made the throw. That is excellent and very impressive to see. Hello, Nathan here. I'm actually going to skip the Rutgers game, which is the last game that I watched, because I don't really have anything to add. That last clip really kind of went through all of his improvements, and watching Rutgers, it was just like, oh yeah, he was really good. He was really clean. There wasn't a lot of problems. There wasn't really a whole lot to analyze. It was just a solid performance from a team that was trying to be as vanilla as possible and not get anybody hurt heading into the game. So probably should have picked a different game to watch there, but I wanted to watch the two most recent games, and I only had time for doing those after I watched Washington and Texas. So yeah. Anyway, summary of Julian Sayin here. I have star, so my grading system, the way that it works, it goes from the very top, you have star or asterisk, okay? And that is like absolutely peak, very, very good, elite, all right? Then you have plus plus, which is very good to great. You have plus, which is above average to good. You have the invert sign there. I don't know what that's actually called. I have no idea. And that one just indicates average or not anything really special about it. And then you have minus and minus minus to be the bad and very bad. Minus traits are very rare. I try to not give minus traits a whole lot. And spoiler alert, he doesn't have a minus trait. Just period, in terms of things that I look for, okay? But accuracy and ball placement are star grades for me. He is extraordinarily accurate. His ball placement is elite, especially as the year went on. The last two games, he was way better in both of those categories, but not so much accuracy because he was already great to borderline elite, even against Texas in terms of accuracy, but the ball placement did kind of leave a little bit to be desired in that game as a whole, but still very good to great. And then as the season gone on, it was just absurd how good he was at putting the ball exactly where he wanted it to be. Fundamentals, okay, his feet are very, very good. His arm angle is consistent. He doesn't drop it to the side a whole lot. He does every now and then, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not all that concerned about the occasional sidearm to try to get it around a defender or something like that, which is generally what he was doing. But his fundamentals, I hate it when quarterbacks throw like this, like they're throwing a baseball and they reach all the way back. No, you're elongating your throwing motion for no reason. And if you stay in here, you're throwing more with your shoulder than you are with your bicep. If you bring it back here, you're trying to throw with your bicep. And that's not what you're meant to be doing. You're meant to throw with your shoulder, your hips, and your whole body. The arm is just kind of there because you have to have your arm in order to throw anything. But the power and the accuracy, generally speaking, are going to come from your lower body, your hips, and your shoulder. So I really, really like that. Like his first ever throw, I was like, oh yeah, this kid's got the fundamentals down. All right. Deep ball, I actually think is good. There's the one throw Carnell Tate where it was underthrown, and that wasn't the only one. So it wasn't great, but it's still a good deep throw. It's an above average to good deep ball, in my opinion. His pocket presence is also excellent. I think he's making your offensive line, specifically the right side of the offensive line, maybe look a little bit better than it is, because the pressure to sack ratio for this team is well below average. Even though the pressure rate is very good, a elite pressure rate would be like 20%. A very good pressure rate would be around 25%, and you're at 24. So a pretty solid offensive line, all things considered, especially the left side. Your left tackle's a first-round pick, by the way. He's very, very good. Montgomery, I think, is the left guard. I don't remember the left tackle's name. And then Hinsman is the center. Those are draftable prospects. The right side, I'm not too sure on, especially in the run game. I don't particularly think they're very good. You're much better running to the left than you are to the right now. But we're getting off topic here. The one thing that I do think is a limiting factor for him a little bit is the arm strength, okay? He has, by NFL standards, an average arm. Okay, average, maybe even lean towards below average in terms of the arm strength here. He is not someone that's going to be making 12-yard out throws consistently. He's also probably not someone that you're going to scheme up a lot of deep shots in the NFL for. In fact, one of my critiques that we're going to get here in the next section is the play calling, because I think the play calling is very, very good. I just have a couple of gripes with the play calling because it feels really college-y, which is not something the offense has been the past 7 or 8 years since Ryan Day showed up in 2018 or whatever it was. So that was strange to me to watch it, and it felt way more college-y, a lot more screens, a lot more quick passes, even though Julian Sayin is absolutely phenomenal working in the intermediate, meaning the 10 to 20 yard range, and over the middle of the field. He's very, very good in that area. But you don't really work that area as much as you probably should, and you don't throw it deep as much as you probably should either. I feel like it feels like Brian Hartline thinks you have a worse offensive line than you do, and you got to get the ball out quick. That's almost what it feels like. And I'm not sure if there's any truth to that, but 43% of your total passes are between 1 and 10 yards down the field per PFF. So that's kind of a crazy statistic. Nevertheless, we're going to get into the second half of this now. Julian Sayin also has average mobility, average measurables. Right now, I would quantify him as average in progression. He does take just a little bit longer than you'd like him to go through the reads. Now, he's going through the reads, which is a big step for a redshirt freshman QB, okay? He's going through the reads, or at least he was in the last 2 games, UCLA and Rutgers. Now, they were also UCLA and Rutgers, so maybe he's not going through the reads against a more good team. I don't know. But I think this is very encouraging to see him go through those reads. And even though he's average at it right now, I imagine, given his intelligence and the obvious work ethic that he puts into things like technique and stuff like that, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to progress into quite probably an elite processor by the time we get towards the end of the season next year, or hell, maybe even early next season as well. And if he can get there, if he can anticipate better, which is part of going through the progressions. Anticipations is a different trait, which I didn't put in here because it was hard to, the wide receivers are so goddamn good and they're getting open so quickly that it's kind of hard to assess if he's anticipating people getting open or he's just like, oh, Jeremiah Smith's going to be open. Oh, Carnell Tate's going to be open. Oh, Claire, the tight end's going to be open because he's on a safety and that's a mismatch. So it's kind of hard to differentiate between that. But I didn't really put it on here because of that, but I would probably quantify that at this moment in time as a negative, just one negative. But again, it's really hard. That could be a positive trait. It could be a plus trait. But even right now, it's just hard for me to delineate what is going on there. The only real knock I have on him is the play and the production fall off a cliff when he's under pressure, which happens to a lot of quarterbacks, okay? Not as dramatic as Julian Sayin, okay? But he does... He is not uncomfortable, but he's not... He's like rushed right now. And I think that's a product of youngness, but he isn't particularly good at identifying pressure pre-snap. He also isn't, which is part of the problem of him not being good under pressure. He also does, when he did get hit the few times that I saw him get hit, and when he was under more consistent pressure, he then did start to hear footsteps just a little bit and was kind of rushed up just a little bit. He wasn't really going through the progressions, which it could be part of the reason is that he's not going through the progressions very quickly right now, which again, he'll get better at that. But right now he's like, I'm looking here, and then I'm gonna stay for like a third of a second too long over here, and then I'm gonna go to the center, and I'm gonna stay for like a third of a second too long over here, and then I'm gonna move to the right. So by the time you get to the right, you've got like an extra second or an extra 2/3 of a second before you can get to the third read. And a lot of the times that can be the difference between a sack or a pressure and no sack or no pressure. That is a nitpick for a young quarterback. Even if that trait itself was on a quarterback with better measurables, with elite measurables, and they were draft eligible, I wouldn't really knock them all that much. The measurables is its own conversation, which we are going to talk about as we get to like the NFL scouting perspective and stuff like that of this, which is what's going to be next. But the last thing I'm going to talk about here is I put a question mark as the grade, the numerical sort of symbol grade for it. I put a question mark because he does have elite wide receivers, and he wasn't as productive when Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith were out of the game because they were both gone against Rutgers, and I think, were they both gone against UCLA, or did Jeremiah Smith play against UCLA? I don't remember, but it really... There was a bit of a drop-off in the production. However, in those games, you also were running the ball more than you probably would if you had those wide receivers. And those are also very much games we're going to win just because we're Ohio State and they're UCLA and Rutgers. And let's not get anybody hurt. And let's not really show any of our cards or anything like that. So... you know what I mean? But the elite wide receivers and tight ends is going to be a talking point with him. It was a talking point with C.J. Stroud. People kind of forgot about that, but that was absolutely a talking point with C.J. Stroud. Even though I had C.J. Stroud as the number one quarterback in that class, he's currently my sixth highest graded quarterback that I've ever scouted, which is going back to 2015. So, yeah. But I really like C.J. Stroud, by the way. And 4 of the 5 guys ahead of him. Well, no, it'd be 3 of the 5 guys ahead of him. I would not have graded higher than him if I were to go back in time and grade them like I scout players now, knowing what I know now and knowing what I prefer in players now. I would not grade them over CJ Stroud. So really, in all honesty, he's my 3rd highest graded quarterback of all time. Nevertheless, the play calling is the last point here. And I do have a lot of gripes with the play calling. But when Brian Hartline decides to call plays like he has an NFL quarterback that is extraordinarily accurate and good enough to go through progressions, the offense is beautiful to look at. Okay? I think it is partially a symptom of philosophically from Ryan Day. Offensively, we're not going to try to be as explosive, as dominant offensively as we were, in the past. We're going to be more game manager-y. We're going to be less risk-taking, so to speak. So I do think that's part of it. I also think part of it is Brian Hartline is a first-time play caller this year. And even though he's done a very good job, I do think he might maybe lack the kind of gravitas that a more experienced play caller would have when it comes to, oh yeah, balls to the wall, we're chucking it deep. Okay, you only throw the ball past 20 yards 11% of the time, even though, according to PFF, Julian Sayin's best throws in terms of like the area of the fields that he is the best at throwing at are the deep left and the deep center, and it's by like 6 or 7 grade points. So like that's a pretty significant margin there. So yeah, I think you probably should throw the ball deeper. Also, you guys run way too many fucking screens. I hate screens. I despise screens. They never work like you think they're gonna work. They're just not good. Oh, they're an extension of the run game. I don't give a fuck. Run the ball. Run the ball. You don't need an extension of the run game if you can run the ball. And by the way, your running game was way better than a lot of your fans made me think it was. That's a quality run game. That's a good run game. It's not great. It's not elite. It's not what it was last year. But you had 2 NFL running backs last year and 2 first-round caliber players on the offensive line, or 2 first-round picks on the offensive line, just in general. Now, Josh Simmons was hurt towards the end of the year, but still. So, yeah, the offensive line took a step back this year, but it's still very, very good. And the running game took a step back this year. It's still really good. Passing game, you could probably argue it might have taken a step back, but I don't know if it really has, if I'm going to be honest with you. All things considered, this is obviously an elite team with an obviously elite quarterback with really no real weaknesses. Now, the weather may or may not play a factor this weekend. I don't know. If it snows 2 inches, like it's currently being projected to snow, it's going to snow 1 to 2 inches, and it's supposed to start right around noon, according to my weather app on my phone. If that is the case, it might have an effect. It also might not. I don't know. But I do want to throw that out there. I don't know if that's necessarily the biggest deal in the world, but I do think you could certainly make an argument that that was going to make what Ohio State wants to do harder. And that could benefit Michigan. It might not, but it also might. I don't know. Last thing I'm going to mention here is the 2027 quarterback class is weird because there is an absolutely absurd amount of talent lined up to be in the quarterback position for that class. Like, it's crazy. It's fucking insane. Like, this is 1983 type shit. All right. Obviously, the big ones: C.J. Carr, C.J. Bailey, Arch Manning, who I'm very confident is not coming out this year, DJ Langway, Dylan Raiola, and maybe Dante Moore. I mean, I think it's crazy. Like, I think Dante Moore should come out this year. I think he'd be the first pick of the draft. But the general consensus among like the draft NFL guys, NFL media guys that have legitimate sources in the league, the general consensus among them is that Dante Moore's probably coming back for 2027. Now, I don't know, but he hypothetically could come back. And those are the guys that I'm pretty sure, based off of physical traits and their plays this year, are going to get talked about in the first round. Now, I didn't even mention a lot of the guys. Ty Simpson might not leave. Now, I think he probably does. I think with the quarterbacks that aren't coming out this year, I think Ty Simpson would be smart to leave. But then also, Jaden Mayava, he might take a leap and become a first-round type of quarterback, because he's very good this year, probably a day 2 pick if he were to leave this year, which I don't think he should leave this year. I think he should come back next year. I didn't mention Lenora Sellers, who's probably not coming out this year. There's a bunch of guys that, Drew Eller is probably going to apply and get a medical red shirt for this year. So he hypothetically could end up being a 2026 class, sort of, or 2027 quarterback class. So that's like 9 potential first round picks at the quarterback position, which is kind of fucking crazy, because there's a lot of these guys that are going to be in the 2027 class. And I'm sure there are people that I'm fucking forgetting right now. Like, I don't really know, but there is so much talent in the 2027 draft class that Julian Sayin might look at that and say, well, fuck, I might as well just wait until 2028. And yeah, I might be competing with, Bear Brockmeyer, Malik Washington, and Bryce Underwood, but that's only 3 guys, and maybe Keelan Russell, or I think it's Keelan Russell, the kid who committed to Alabama, 5-star, who was in that conversations with Tavian St. Clair and Bryce Underwood in terms of being number 1 quarterbacks in the class. But you might end up being in those conversations, but that's only 4 guys, and then Julian Sayin would be the 5th guy. This is like 9, 10 guys that potentially could get into first round conversations. And also, there's always somebody every year that comes out of nowhere and ends up being a first round pick. That was Ty Simpson this year. I don't think anybody thought Ty Simpson was going to look as good as he has this year for Alabama. Is he perfect? No. But he's a very, very good quarterback and probably would be a first round pick if he left. That's kind of my whole point. I think it's a conversation that you do kind of have to have with Julian Sayin. Is he damn well might be a 3-year starter for you this year, next year, and in 2027, because the 2027 draft class at the quarterback position is fucking loaded. And, you can have a conversation about C.J. Carr, but C.J. Carr is, to me, effectively just if Julian Sayin had a little bit better of an arm and was a little bit more athletic. So I've got him graded higher than I would have Julian Sayin. C.J. Bailey's 6'7" and a great athlete. He's probably going to go in the first round. Arch Manning, same thing. Big, good arm, can definitely be a running threat. DJ Langway, he's a good athlete, not a great athlete. You're not going to design runs for him at the next level, but cannon of an arm. And his last 6 games last year, his last 6 games of his freshman season were outstanding. He's probably going to transfer to Miami or maybe Oregon if Dante Moore goes out. But either way, I would expect him to thrive in those systems and become a first-round pick as well. Dylan Raiola, also sneakily maybe transferring from Nebraska, but physically talented, special arm talent, good enough athlete to move around and take advantage of, man coverage on a blitz where you make one guy miss and then there's nobody anywhere near you, so you can run and get a first down. Yeah, those are a lot of guys that I don't think Julian Sayin, because of the physical limitations, would end up being graded above. And that might be true. It might not be true. I don't know. There might be a team that absolutely loves Julian Sayin and takes him number 1 overall. I don't fucking know. But I think it's a fun conversation to have, and that's why I was having the conversation. Anyway, you go ahead and let me know, Ohio State fans. You go ahead and let me know what you think of Julian Sayin. I think he's elite. I think he's fantastic. I think he certainly has the talent and potential to be a first-round pick. even though there are admittedly some physical limitations there. Nevertheless, I do really, really, really like Julian Sayin. You go ahead and let me know what you think of Julian Sayin and the 2027 class, and if you think you are as concerned as I am about potentially missing out on what could be a generational physical talent in Tavian St. Clair. And that is all that I have for you today. It's at this point I'd like to remind you to like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and if you disagree with me at any point, or you just have something to say, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section below. Just remember to be civil. After all, what do I know? I'm just some asshole on the internet giving you his opinion. And now with the outro done and out of the way, there's only one thing left to say, and that's that I'll see you next time.